So I guess you know by now, as you're watching this video, who Greta Thunberg is. I'm guessing you know about her speech that she gave at the UN, or you could rather call it a rant, to be honest, because it was more of a rant than an actual speech. But we all know about when she went to the UN and, let's say, gave us her thoughts. She mentioned about how she should apparently be in school, and the question I have to ask is, why aren't you in school then? She also mentions in her speech, or her rant as well, that we've apparently stolen her childhood. We, the working class people, have ruined her childhood. That's questionable as well, because I think it was more down to your virtue signalling parents, to be honest. But talking about her parents and her family as a whole, it's actually well known that they are actually involved a lot in television and in films and that kind of stuff. Her mother is an opera singer, if I'm not mistaken. Her dad is an actor, and her granddad is also a film director as well. So she has got that kind of background as well. But I think it is quite funny, actually talking about the entire speech that she gave as a whole. Apparently at the UN at the time, Trump apparently fell asleep during the actual speech, and when I came across this article right here, I don't know if this is true or not, but if he did, that is actually genuinely hilarious. But the question we have to ask is, since she gave that speech, I think it was about a week ago now, the question we've got to ask is, why does she get so much coverage? Why is she in the papers as much as she is? Why is she apparently going to be winning the Nobel Peace Prize as well? I've heard she's going to win that as well. You literally cannot go 5 minutes without yet another story about her, without her being mentioned, without her trending on Twitter and all of that kind of stuff. And you have to ask yourself, why is that? If I didn't know any better, I'd think she was Jesus. Oh, you think I'm exaggerating? No, I'm not. Literally, a Swedish church proclaimed Greta Thunberg a successor to Jesus Christ. You couldn't make this up. But back to the original question, why is there so much coverage of Greta Thunberg? And the answer to that is simply the fact, we all know this by now, she is being used. She's being used as a puppet for the establishment. She's being used by her parents, and she's being used by the establishment to push their own politics and push their own agenda. But the question we have to ask is, why do the establishment use her? They use her to try and push their agenda and all of that kind of stuff. And that is because of the fact that she can get away with saying things that a normal politician would not. If you put your average stereotypical establishment politician up there on that platform and had him say the exact same things as Greta did at the UN, he'd never get away with it, and nobody would buy it. But when it comes from the mouth of a 16-year-old girl, then it does work, and it can persuade a lot more people into supporting the agenda of the establishment and the globalists. And also because of the fact that she is a 16-year-old girl and she is on the autism spectrum as well, you also cannot criticise her apparently. If you criticise her, you're seen as mean, you're apparently a bully, you hate children, you're ableist and all of that kind of stuff, if you dare speak back against her. If anybody criticises anything that comes out of her mouth, you are one of those things. The most recent example that I can think of was a story from a couple of months ago that I remember that involved Neil Hamilton of UKIP, who apparently posted a meme that was making fun of Greta. I can get the tweet up right here that he posted. It's shaping up to be the hottest day of the year. Please remember, no electric fans, definitely no air conditioning. Greta has spoken, hashtag climate hoax, hashtag extinction rebellion, and then he posted the picture of Greta right here. This is what he posted, and most normal people would look at that and think, oh, it's just a meme, oh, it's just a joke, it's relatively harmless. But that didn't stop most of the mainstream media, most of the establishment politicians, the regressive left, tearing him apart when he did post that a couple months back. And this is just one of the examples here of how someone criticising her gets absolutely torn apart by the newspapers and what have you, by the establishment, because they went along with the narrative that he was just bullying a 16-year-old. But I think it is clearly obvious that there is a double standard here, because she can criticise us, she can criticise our lifestyle, she can lecture us about what we're doing wrong, what we should be doing and all of that kind of stuff, but we apparently can't criticise her back. She's apparently old enough to lecture us about what we can and can't do, but she's not old enough to be criticised for what she says. It is a blatant double standard, but they do go along with it. Here's an example of an article right here that explains exactly what I said. Why angry middle-aged men are so threatened by Greta Thunberg. And this is another one of those articles here that just does essentially say, oh, you can't criticise her because she's 16 and a child and all of that kind of stuff. Now, thankfully, as far as I'm aware, most people are seeing through this. Most people are aware that she is essentially being used by the establishment to push their own agenda, and I believe that that is a good thing, with the fact that it shows that most people are not buying into everything they hear on the TV, everything they read in the newspapers. People are waking up. I think what needs to be understood here is that most people are not criticising Greta on the basis that she's a 16-year-old girl on the autism spectrum. They're criticising her for what she's saying. There's a difference between criticising someone as a person and criticising someone for what they say. But of course, the establishment do not care about that. All they care about is pushing their own agenda, and they're aware that people like Greta Thunberg are perfect tools to use against the working classes to try and make them support their agenda. But overall, people, be sure to let us know what you think about this down below. What are your opinions on Greta Thunberg's comments at the UN? Be sure to let us know what you think about this down below. Alright gentlemen, this has been Lord Flashheart. Be sure to rate, comment, favourite, share and subscribe, and I will see you again. Cheerio!